If you are given an order by authority within reason, you you do it, you comply. Obviously, if there's reasons for whatever it is where you feel like you can't comply, then you know what the consequences may or may not be.
What do you mean? When Hitler was in Germany, when he was there on the first day, he didn't go around and kill every Jew. No, it don't work. It don't happen like that. What it does is that they start building and adding little infractions, little irregulations, until it gets bigger and bigger, until the people say, well, we're pacified, we're not going to react now, and then they just start enforcing rules and regulations. Basic patterns, 1 + 1 is 2. They said, where you can't come into the shop without a mask on. They say, you can't come into a shop in groups. 1 + 1 is 2. You can't come into a shop if you're not buying essential goods. 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. You can't come into a shop unless you're vaccinated. 1 + 1 + 1 is 4. Yo, what's going on, people? Big up yourselves all the time, every time. Back again with myself, Jago, on Real Fake News, hitting you with the real fake news. Today in studio, I have got, jeez.
You have got Renee. Hi, hello, hi. Hope you're all good. Yep.
You already know what it is, man. Man like. Let's talk real, let's go.
Jeez, lovely. Right, guys, 221, lovely, another year, here we come.
Happy New Year, people.
Happy New Year, obviously.
Happy New Year.
Start with a smile, and we can finish with a smile, and everyone will be good. So, we have come into this new year with the same bad energy from last year, which isn't good, generally.
No.
We are looking at another lockdown, nationally. Is it nationally, basically? And we're looking at a lot of regulations and enforcements. So first of all, what we're going to look at today is cheese. So I'm going to cut this bit out because I'm going to ask one of you guys. What are we looking at today, anyway? Come on, guys. Let's all do this together, innit? Let's work as a team.
Okay, so first things first, what we're going to look at. Let's start with the vaccine and the rollout of this new vaccine and the whole thing about the 3-week period that they're extending now from when we should have taken. People should take the second dose. I think that's a good starting point.
Perfect.
Definitely.
So initially they brought out the vaccines. They've done the tests and they have said to take the first dose and then 3 weeks later to take the second dose. And this is going to be the most effective way that this vaccine is going to help a human being. Over the last couple of weeks, they have been stressing about getting a lot of people vaccinated. So they have slightly moved the goalposts and have said now that get your first vaccine. You can wait up to 12 weeks to get your second dose of the vaccine. Also, there has been a couple of people that have been saying that regardless of vaccine, you can get another vaccine if that vaccine has run out. Now, there's obviously a couple of discrepancies for me there, but what do you think, guys, about that?
So,
it's not right though, is it?
Yeah, I mean, if they're saying that a vaccine, like the second dose should be taken in 3 weeks and the second dose should be taken within 3 weeks, this is what they've tested for. And now they're saying, you know, it could be longer than the 3 weeks. But as far as we're aware, they haven't tested the effectiveness of waiting an extra 3 or 6 weeks to take the second dose. So it doesn't make any sense. And them delivering this information to us now at the last minute is just, you know, you're just losing even more trust than you've already lost in them anyway. So it just doesn't make any sense, in my opinion.
No, I hear that fully. I do believe in the same thing as well. Like I think that really and truly why decide to make this decision right now. But first, the first thing I'm thinking is if you give someone the first dose of the vaccine, firstly, them people there that you gave the first dose really should be the first priority to give the second dose. You gave them the first dose. Make sure make sure it's effective for them. You know what I mean? You've decided to give it to them, so give them the whole thing. Don't give them half the thing and then go, right, I know we said 3 weeks, but now we're going to say 12 weeks. You know what I mean? Because as you said, they haven't done the testing. So if they haven't, even though it could
as far as we're aware.
Yeah, as far as we're aware, they haven't done the testing. And even though it could be that it's still effective, what if it ain't? It could be basically rendered useless. You know what I mean? And if it's rendered useless, what was the point of having the vaccine in the goddamn first place? You know
exactly.
What
I mean,
it seems like now it's just a numbers thing, like they're just trying to get the numbers up for everyone to take the first dose rather than looking at, well, is this going to actually be effective? Because if not, we're going to be, prolonged in the situation that we're in, because they're obviously already making out like, once we get this is basically the way out. And then I don't know if you've been seeing on adverts and things like that, even now I'm getting a bit like, oh, okay, because they're like, oh, take your vaccine and you can go on holiday and you can do this and do that. And it's just like, but you haven't even got it right in the first place. But they're also putting other things in their head, like, yeah, if you take this vaccine, then, you can book your holiday. And it's just like, okay.
Which is only showing more and more people in the country that they don't know their arse from their elbow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's mainstream media.
Straight up and down, isn't it? Like, I know some people might not like me saying that, but unfortunately, as I said, this is my opinion, isn't it? Like, as I said, you don't have to listen to it. You know what I mean? You can say, oh, that's absolute rubbish. You can say, yeah, I believe what you're saying. I hear that. But my opinion is they don't know their arse from their elbow. Simple as that. Like, and it's got to that stage now where I really don't. I feel like I shouldn't care what they say anymore, because I've just lost trust in them completely. Considering that I didn't even have that much trust in them anyway.
Yeah, in the first place.
I mean, my opinion on that is that whenever in your lifetime a doctor gives you medication, and they give you like antibiotics or any medication, and they say, look, you need to take 2 of these a day, or you need to take 1 of these a week. If you don't do it, what happens? Do you get relief from your illnesses? No. So for them to say that, look, it's meant to be for 3 weeks, but we're saying up to 12 weeks, is basically saying, well, we know that it's most effectively at 3 weeks. Yeah, we would never ever want to make it less effective, because we want to have a good face out of it. But like when they're saying, they're trying to get the numbers up of people who are being vaccinated. I suppose in the hindsight of things, to make sure that more people in the country are vaccinated against their illness. And maybe, we don't know, the second dose, it might not even be extremely important. It might just be like a top-up thing that gives you the cap, and that's it. While the other thing, the first dose, is the one that actually works your system and creates the proteins and creates the antibodies. It might even be that, and we don't know. So,
but they say Pfizer
the second dose is needed. I think, I believe.
Exactly, that's what I think.
How important?
If they said that's how it goes, bruv, they said it's important. As I said, I saw some other news article today, where they were talking to a member that was on the Pfizer board, bruv. You know what I mean? And even he said it is important that you take that second dose.
Yeah, but did he say it's important to take the
important
second dose at a certain time, or it's important to take the second dose? Because they're completely different things.
Well, you need to take the second dose, and whatever that time period is.
It is that's what I'm saying. So obviously, when he's saying you need to take that second dose, he's going by the instructions that is being given to them on how to administer it, which is that within 21 days they have to have that second dose by 21 days.
No, but did he say that it has to be a second dose within 21 days, or did he say there has to be a second dose?
Yes, bro, because he explained how it goes, and then says yes, the most effective way to do is to have 2 doses.
What?
You know what I mean?
At the time that it's been told, yeah.
After he explained exactly how it works, you know.
I know what you're saying. It's important to have 2 doses, but 2 doses, one in January, one in December. That's 2 doses. I'm asking you, Did he specifically say he needed?
No, but he explained that bro. What I'm trying to say is he explained how it works, how you're supposed to be, how it's supposed to be administered and taken. Yeah, and then after he spoke that, it goes like that. So, on saying that, the most effective way is to have 2 doses.
Okay. No,
and that's what he was saying. So no, so what I was trying to say is what he said that on extension of explaining what he was explaining. See what I'm saying? So basically he was saying that, but he said that at the end, you know what I mean, of explaining of how it's supposed to be administered. See what I'm saying?
I hear that. Well, you obviously know, like, I'm not for this COVID vaccine at the moment anyway, so I'll just play a little bit devil's advocate.
No, like, I hear that, because the way, bruv, like, as I said, I am the same, bruv. If people want to take it, they take it, you know what I mean? Like, if you feel that's what's going to make you feel safe, then you do what makes you feel safe, innit? More power to you. I just think I would rather take my chances, that's all. I'd rather take my chances, innit?
The other thing about the vaccines, I'm still finding very, very strange, is that one factor we know at the moment, there's a lot of fact checkers. And fact checkers are there for either an agenda or stop malicious information, either or, But what and this is in place. But what I'm not understanding is that why have we seen so much information against this vaccine and no pro-information or pro-evidence of people coming out of this vaccine on a good side? Why is it so? Because normally you find both sides. You find like a lot of like mainstream media pushing out, these people being vaccinated, these people have done this now, these people, and then you have obviously the counters who kind of does on internet, no, the vaccine does this really, but we're not even getting the mainstream side at the moment. We're just getting like, well, there's a lot of fear in the numbers, but we don't know anything about like obviously previous people they brought up, like William Shakespeare from North England and the first woman that took it. Like these were all people that were shown to us in our face. I would have thought they would have like shown them in life now, like these people are happy, they've taken the vaccine, like there's not been no problems. So that's why I'm just fully confused why these fact checkers ain't been cancelling off these other people. And why
you've got to remember, what you've got to remember is that this vaccine is still very new, and that all the questions that we have, even some doctors have openly said they don't have the answers for it yet. Nobody has the answers. So all these questions that we have, there just isn't, unfortunately, any answers out there because there's still testing going on. Once the vaccines are administered, testing doesn't stop. Testing and trials still take place even once the vaccine's been administered. So nobody has the answers. That's what it's basically down to. People are still waiting to find out information and to figure out what to do next with that information or result. That's what it is and why.
Yeah, for real.
Madness. So yeah, going through the vaccinations, we're looking at, well, what we've been told are mass cases of infection of this new variant in the UK,
Yeah.
What are they saying at the moment in terms of death and infection rates?
Well, the infection rate's gone up, hasn't it? I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's gone up high. And deaths, they said one day like the deaths is more than it was in March or something like that. The death toll in one day.
Yeah.
This week or something.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the levels of March times, yet we're still allowed to do, slightly more things that we couldn't do in the March lockdown.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Is it as bad? Is it not as bad? Or is it as bad and they don't care?
They have made it a high incident contagious virus now, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've made it a major incident now. They have. People, just on a quick thing, make sure like, subscribe, all that good stuff.
Jeez, come on, Yes, along that lines there, what do you guys believe is actually going on? Do you believe that all the NHS all over the UK are being overwhelmed with the figures and numbers of people coming in right now? Do you believe also that the figures and numbers that are coming in are via this new variant?
So here's where I stand on it. Number one, yes, I believe that they are overwhelmed. They've been overwhelmed for quite, nothing's really stopped. They've always been overwhelmed, and it might have subsided a little bit during the times where we kind of got back to a little bit of normality, but they were still overwhelmed. And don't forget that a lot of the places are understaffed as well. So I think that it is what it is. There is an infection. It is very, very bad, and they don't know how to deal with it. But then for the second thing is it all COVID related? A lot of people may be going in with COVID symptoms or do have COVID, but that's not the main reason why they've gone in. They've probably gone in because they've had something else, they've caught COVID, and that's exacerbated things. I can't say that word, but let's pretend that I can. It's made things worse, and then it's obviously, they've just been put onto like a COVID ward or something like that. So my point in that is that what we're hearing now, so we're not hearing the figures of people who have got cancer, who have got some kind of heart failure, who are basically suffering from anything else other than COVID, or dying from anything else other than COVID. And we're not even hearing about the flu. So like, I'm sure the end of the year and now is a time where a lot of people die from the flu anyway. But we don't know the figures of
remember,
people who have got the flu.
Didn't they say that they were going to add the people that would die from the flu? They were adding that to the numbers of COVID. I swear at some point.
Really? I didn't hear that.
They were saying, they were saying something like that. They were combining some sort of numbers.
Huh? Well, that's stupid. That, it doesn't make sense. All we're hearing now is COVID. So we're just hearing about COVID deaths. If we remember, without COVID, there were so many deaths, just as much or even more deaths happening every year, but we didn't hear about it. It wasn't pushed to us in the media. And now we're not hearing about it at all and only hearing about COVID, but the proportions are definitely not right. Something's not right with the numbers of deaths.
No, yeah. I hear that.
And can't beat up.
I do think, to a certain extent, again, I do agree with you. I think certain numbers are being extended. I think there is a certain amount of manipulation going on. As we do know, you got to remember something. There are deaths by COVID, deaths of COVID or something. There's one where you die and you could have the symptoms and stuff, and there's another set of numbers where you've died from COVID, like that's it, died from COVID or something like that, and had symptoms or something like that anyway of that extension. And they were mixing up their numbers at one point earlier on, you know what I mean? So what makes you think that they're not doing that now? You know what I mean? They could be doing that now and we don't know. You know what I mean? Secondly, when it comes to the hospitals and being overwhelmed in that, I can understand they could be overwhelmed. I could fully understand that. But then you've got them Nightingale hospitals, you know what I mean? And you had 3.5 billion scrapped. Where's that 3.5 billion from that Trace app? You know, you ain't even used it. You could have used that to actually put equipment in them Nightingale hospitals and staff them.
Yeah, but this is the problem. Well, this is the problem. The reason why there's nobody in the Nightingale hospitals is because they're understaffed. They don't have the staffing to go into those hospitals. That's what the issue is.
But the 3.5 billion could have been used to help that.
I mean, the
problem but instead of doing that Trace app, which they didn't even use, they could have used that somewhere else, like the hospitals.
The problem with that is, I mean, I was going to get onto Nightingale hospitals, but they took out £220 million and made these seven Nightingale hospitals specifically for, I can't even say the word, specifically for that's the one, specifically for COVID-19 patients, which basically meant to alleviate the NHS so the NHS could start dealing with normal people with normal issues. Now, all these normal people with normal issues are gonna result in being in a severe case, or they're gonna end up dying of their condition because they're not getting treatment and they're not getting their operations and all the rest of it because of the COVID-19. cases.
Yeah.
Supposedly. So I mean, for me, I mean, understaffed. Yeah, that's definitely, I understand that. But I mean, even if the hospitals were overwhelmed because they were understaffed, then realistically, that means in that statement. Sorry, that statement is saying that the hospitals aren't really overwhelmed; it is understaffed. And because they're understaffed, it feels like they're overwhelmed.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think it is a bit of both. They're dealing with a lot more patients without the space. So they haven't got the beds and the space. And apparently some people are sitting on the floors or in waiting rooms and stuff like that because they just don't have the space.
And I believe that's,
but then with them not having the space,
is because they wasted money.
Well, yeah,
I do believe a part of that is because they wasted money in certain things they shouldn't have gone and put money into.
Also, I believe, and I haven't like concluded my experiments and hypothesis on this, but I believe it's only certain counties that have overwhelmed hospitals. I think it's only certain counties that have overwhelmed hospitals. I think there's also other counties that have hospitals. So like
London's overwhelmed, where somewhere up north might not be as overwhelmed. I'm just saying, using that as an example.
So
maybe.
I think Liverpool is overwhelmed up there as well.
Even
that's
as
what
much
I heard Liverpool was overwhelmed.
Even as much as, I mean, within the actual city. So, for instance, there could be some hospitals, say, for instance, in central London, that are well overwhelmed. But if you went down to maybe South London, them hospitals there weren't overwhelmed.
Yeah, but I think they're also trying to. I don't think they want COVID patients in every single hospital dotted around. I think they're trying to confine them into one or two or certain hospitals, so it's not a risk for other people at other hospitals.
I mean, when they say overwhelmed, I'm assuming not only COVID cases, I'm assuming normal cases as well. So I would assume that other cases will get dealt with in other hospitals then.
Because you've got to remember, there was already people in the hospitals anyway before the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Who were taking up, spaces anyway.
Yep. And you also got to remember
they were saying then that there weren't enough beds and that then.
Yeah. I mean, you've also got to remember that
when they were saying there was not enough beds and stuff.
They said that when someone's admitted into the hospital, once they're tested, if they have COVID, regardless of their other situations, other illnesses or whatever, COVID is going to be the forefront. So they was talking about primary incident, and then I had a secondary incident, and then I had like an underlying third incident, and that's on the paperwork. So what they'll write is if they had a heart attack, they'll be like heart attack, heart failure or whatever, and then secondary will be like maybe diabetes or something to do with fat clogging, innit? So when they do this, once someone's been tested, if they got COVID, regardless if that's what they've come in for, that goes into a primary thing that they are a person that has COVID, isn't it? So regardless if that person dies or not, that person will have COVID on their thing, innit? And that will always bump up numbers. Not to say that they shouldn't do that, because realistically you want to keep people safe, so you need to identify people who have got COVID.
And the whole thing is how contagious it is, isn't it? That's what they're trying to minimize.
But what they are very
the transmission
for fear though, which I definitely don't agree with, man. A lot of it is based on the fear side of it. There isn't any like positive side, as in like they've already told us how many people recover, but they don't actually publicize that. They just told us once and that's it. Basically, what we were talking about, I'm just going to finish off real quickly, was figures. So we've been fed a lot of figures of infection rates, which I believe has allowed them to be able to make stricter regulations and was able to put us in this lockdown. I mean, that was, I would say, one of the most easiest pushes to get us into this lockdown nationally.
I think that was sort of not the goal, but you know what I mean, that was like, right, we've got that there, just right, if it needs to be, right, we can just stick them in lockdown. That's been sitting there for a bit, I reckon.
Yeah.
Of course it has.
Yeah.
So,
sure.
I'm assuming, well, I shouldn't really assume, obviously, but I'm guessing that this lockdown is probably going to go on until, what, springtime?
April.
Yep, I think so.
So they said mid-February, obviously. They've said, this lockdown runs until mid-February. And then there's talks about it being extended until April, which makes me think we're in lockdown until April. Because as I said, if it's something they don't want to do, they don't even mention it. As soon as you hear it mentioned, 9 times out of 10 it usually happens. So I think we're here. I think we're indoors until April.
Yeah, mate. Not good look at all, mate. Not a good look at all.
No.
No,
not at all.
So another thing they were saying we didn't really talk about in the vaccination was who's getting vaccinated. The Queen and Prince is being vaccinated. Is it?
Yeah, something. Yeah,
I think so.
I didn't look too much into it, but
yeah.
So
nor did I.
Nor did I. Someone was saying the police should get vaccinated or something. Was it one of you?
Yeah, I was saying something about
NHS workers getting vaccinated. One of my friends actually.
They were one of the first to be in it.
Yeah. One of my friends, she got vaccinated on Friday. She works in a care home as a chef. So she got vaccinated. I've yet to speak.
Did she want to?
They've been vaccinated.
Did they want to? Were they happy to?
She had to do it because of work. She didn't really want to do it, but she has to pay bills, so she just did it.
Yeah, same reasoning really.
But yeah, man. So these people are being vaccinated. I mean, the elderly should be vaccinated first, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they said that over 70s that will be first through the elderly.
Yeah.
When it comes to the elderly, the over 70s will be first.
Yeah.
And then it will go down in age, I think. But there's 4 particular high priority factions that they want to have vaccinated first before they want to even kind of ease this lockdown.
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I don't want to talk about vaccinations no more, guys. Sorry, mate. This is making me feel so bad. Like, we're going to go down this route.
I don't blame you.
But let's talk about... I don't blame you. Let's have a look at this lockdown. So we've got this lockdown till, you're saying, spring. Do you think there are going to be more regulations than what we've got now?
Well, they're already talking about making things stricter, aren't they? What do you mean at the moment, during lockdown?
When we come out of lockdown.
No, during the until we come out in springtime, is it all going to be the same all up until spring, or do you think they're going to add more regulations?
Well, they might add more regulations and things, but the thing is, haven't you seen the things about there was this woman or whatever who was walking in the park and she got fined for it, and then they made it put what?
£200.
Yeah, but then they put up like a statement like, rules to be reviewed because that's stupid. They said we're allowed to go out to exercise and for walks. So what? Unless there was something else behind it, why is she getting fined £200?
In fact, there was 2 of them. They both drove a certain distance to go for a walk, and they both got fined.
But there wasn't any regulations to say how far or how not far to go.
Oh no, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. But
there's no regulations for that, and there's no regulations on how many times you go out to exercise.
Yeah.
So
technically, you can go out all day, do what you're doing, and if you get stopped, I'm exercising.
1 hour.
You know what I mean?
1 hour.
Bro, is that what they said?
Yeah, 1 hour a day.
Yeah, I ain't heard. I didn't hear that in that statement.
So I mean, that was in the first lockdown we had as well. They said that you could have 1 hour.
Yeah, because in this, bruv, I watched the statement when he put us in lockdown, and he said, you can still go out and exercise and stuff. And then when the news came on straight after that statement, they said there was no restriction on how many times and how long you actually exercise for.
In fact, I do remember that.
So you can actually go out several times and exercise for as long as you want.
I do remember that. But
so technically, why is she being fined? Why is she being fined if she can go out for walks?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The rules and things that they set in place for this lockdown, it wasn't clear as it's never been clear, and they didn't put any specifics in. So I don't know what they expect.
No,
Because it's
exactly.
all about, oh, do you think?
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
do we think this lockdown's working? You know, do we need to get tougher, or what things? I don't know. The main thing is that they're already questioning, do they think what this lockdown is working? But you're not giving us anything to bloody work too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. There's no incentive in it. There's no incentive, like.
Well, there's no incentive.
It's not incentive.
There's no
It's transparency.
There's no specifics.
If they were transparent in what they were saying and saying, right, we estimate that in May we won't be in lockdown any further. You won't have to wear masks, and we can go back, and they work towards that. Then I can understand something like that, but it's not. It's
that's cool. You can understand
confusion. That. Every day it's something different, and it's just like, well, okay,
yeah.
This and okay,
but you've got to remember, they did make. You know what? Sometimes saying nothing is saying everything, and he was very clear.
Yeah.
Or they was very clear that they basically had a provisional date of when they think things will get back to maybe the stage of normality that we've been having so far, which was the February date. However, that's not a definite date. So that's
set in stone. Yeah, it's not set in stone.
Yeah,
I think
it's not set in stone. So they kind of let us know that if this and this isn't met, or should I say if this isn't met, which is the rollout of the vaccine, and then obviously to see the effectiveness of it, because they're saying it takes, is it 12 weeks or something? 6 to 12 weeks or something to actually see how effective it is. Then if that's not up to the standard that they want, then we're going to be in this position again until it is, basically.
So basically,
which means we're in lockdown until April, innit?
We're going to be scared of viruses all our life. Yeah. Ridiculous, mate. Ridiculous.
Straight.
So, also, there's still been protests going on. Freedom March protests. There was one
has been
in Clapham Common on Saturday. Yet again, the normal police were there. Yet again, the territorial support gang were there as well. Arresting old people, arresting women, as usual. I don't know why they feel so big doing that. I think this week there was a 74-year-old woman that was arrested there. Again, for me, this is absolutely ridiculous, and I think how are people not reacting yet, man? Because the way they're arresting people, TSG, is ridiculous. Like, there was this one girl who was like 15-year-old girl, and they all jumped on her like she was a rugby player, fam. I was like, wow, like, and these
I didn't
guys,
see any of this.
I've got a lot of the links, so I'm gonna send it to you guys. But I'll send you the link. There's this guy called All Access, and he's obviously got a press pass. And he basically, every time there's a protest, he's out with his camera, and he's probably got the best equipment. Must have a wicked stabilizer as well, and his sound is good. And basically, the police know him, innit? As in, like, he's been there so long, and he's got press pass, and the police know that he does a channel, innit? And I suppose his channel is officiated. So basically, he just goes around filming the whole situation for the whole day. Not filming, streaming. And like, you see everything firsthand, innit? And like, he keeps a lot of the time roughly where the police are doing stuff, innit? He's not scared to get involved, and he knows his rights and how the regulations, so he keeps in the regulations, so they can't do nothing to him, innit? And he catches all of this stuff, like all the marches, all the protests that's been happening. He's been there, innit? And there's no narrative to what he's doing. He's just filming, innit? He's not saying, oh, look, they're doing this now and they're because of that. He's just literally filming, and then all you hear is like, oh, they're down that street, let's go. That's sick. I like that independent stuff, you get me? So he had a lot of footage about this, and obviously he's got his channel, so I'll send you the link to the channel.
Do that.
All Subject Access, I think it's called. But yeah, these TSG have been very, very aggressive with a lot of the protesters. And on Saturday at the Clapham one, a couple of the police officers actually had a conversation with some black guys. I haven't seen a lot of times when police have actual conversations. Police tend to either shut you down or they listen to what you say and then chuck the rules in your face and then shut you down. And like these officers actually had a conversation with these two lads, which was really good. And these lads were really good in what they were saying. They first basically said to them about, do you think this is right, what you're doing, stopping people from speaking and all the rest of it? And the officer said, well, it's COVID time and we're following rules and regulation. And then he said, well, this is exactly what Nazi police officers would have said the same thing, like we're only following our rules and regulation, man. Like we're not like, even though we're doing something wrong, we're just doing our job, innit? And then obviously the officer was like, yeah, but you know, we have to enforce it because it's for health and safety. And then the guys with this, they came out with some really good debates and arguments with these officers. And like I said, I respect the officers because they stood there and had a conversation with them. Eventually, this in suffrage, this invading of life and humanity, it's going to be happening to their families as well, you know, to the police officers' families as well, their brothers and sisters as well. They're going to have to come to a point where they're going to be like, raw, that's not fair. And then they're going to, you know, they're going to have to choose a side. At that point, is it too late? I don't know, you get me? But, you know, it's not only happening to me and you, it's happening to everyone. Unless you're in the 1%.
Yeah, see, the thing with me though, what I think though is like, shouldn't they be, if they're going to be picking a side, they should be looking to do that now, because they should be looking at the family members that are going through this right now, and they have to sit there and go, oh, it's for health and safety. Well, obviously I've got to feed my fam, I've got to stand with them. You know what I mean? Even though they might see things and think, you know what, I don't like what I'm seeing, you know. But what can they say? What can they really say, honestly? They can't say.
Well, that's just like
their
saying,
job and their source of
that's just like saying
then
that the Nazi police, that's like saying the Nazi police were not in the wrong for killing people off. Because all they were doing was doing their job to feed their family.
No, it's not, bro. Because the way things were done back then, and what's going on, what happened then, and what's happening now, are two completely different situations, bro. You know what I mean? Remember saying this virus is not racist. The Nazi police were. So obviously, like, the virus is a tool, That's not what's giving us a lockdown. The virus isn't telling us to stay at home. It's the government. It's the government and the enforcers, So we're talking about the government and enforcers. At that time in Nazi Germany, Germany had fallen to its knees, after the First World War. They had nothing, And this guy come in and said, look, we need to make our country the strongest country, So in what they did was not much different from what we're doing right now, because of the fact that he came in with a motive and a cause, and his motive and cause was to build up the country. Their motive and cause is to keep the country safe. Race.
So listen. So wait, I haven't finished yet. So their thing was to build a strong country. These people are to build a safe country and a healthy country. There's no difference. It's just the way that in them times, they went around killing people, and people couldn't do anything about it. Now, there's so much freedoms that people have gained and so much entitlements that they can't go around killing people like they did back then. But it's exactly the same concept. They're following rules to enforce and infringe on people's human rights and to cause suffering and harm to individuals of the community. That's basically the same as any fascist police would do. Any fascist police that says, well, I'm only following orders, You're saying, well, I dismiss morals, regardless if I'm doing what's right or wrong. I'm getting paid to feed my family and I'm following orders. So just like if P&Q pay me something, if I was a security guard for B&Q and someone robbed from B&Q and I killed someone by accident by trying to prevent him from stealing, then I'm not in the wrong because B&Q have paid me to secure the premises, and in that, an accident happened where someone died. So you've got to say, well, as a security guard, I can't use that much force because that much force can kill someone. But that's in the discernment of the morality of the police officer or the security guard or the Nazi police or the fascist police, It's all in their discrepancies, So regardless, if you have authority and you can abuse that power to take away human rights from people, yeah, from your own community, yeah, and infringe and have not even infringe, yeah, the amount of people that have died, yeah, because of this movement of the enforcement, people staying at home, people dying of abuse and suicide, people dying of other illnesses, yeah. This is not, yeah, this is not anything that's morally right. So what they're doing is wrong. You're either right or wrong. You can't be, oh no, I'm in the middle. You're either doing right or you're doing wrong. And that's the actual absolute base truth of life, innit? You're either doing right or you're either doing wrong. If you're not doing wrong, then you're probably doing right. And if you're not doing right, then you're probably doing wrong. And that's how it goes, realistically. So as an authority...
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So at these protests, do you think police should be present there or not at the protest?
I think police should be present
at this
not,
particular protest.
Well, at the freedom protest. Yeah, of course.
So police should be present, and why should they be present?
They should be present to support for freedoms, just like everyone else is, I suppose.
No, okay. So I'm not saying general people. I'm saying police officers. If police officers, as they are in their job and their role, should they or should they not be at protests? Or
yeah, they should be.
Let's
of course.
stick with this protest.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, obviously, number one, with protests, yeah, there's always going to be an element of chaos. So police are there to enforce that there isn't chaos. And second of all, obviously, if there's crimes being committed, which is the protest, so generally no crimes are being committed, then they would be there to enforce. But then at the same time, you know, them being there means that other crimes that are being committed in other places are cool, innit? Because all the police are there trying to, I don't know, prevent something which is very minimal, innit? It's very bad risk assessment. That's what I would say.
Yeah, okay. But it's just, what I'm just trying to get my head around is that, so it's just the comparison that you was making before with the police and what they're doing, but number one, the police have to be there. So the police have to be there and doing their job.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Depending on how this protest turns out and what people are doing is going to be a reflection of how the police react.
Yeah,
now I know that's just like a basic cause and reaction kind of thing, because obviously we know that sometimes it's not always the case. Maybe police are being a bit of idiots and, you know, not doing the job that they should be, but overall they're there for the safety of their health and safety of people.
Yep.
That's why they're there.
Yeah.
Okay, so people, yeah, that's right, and that's why they should be anywhere in the country for the health and safety and protection of people. That's their role. That's what they swore an oath to. And that should be all over the country. It shouldn't just be at a protest site. It should be all over the country. Remember, whenever anything happens, any other situation, do they bring out this amount of police officers? And do they have two different forces of police officers there? No. So they've already preempted that something's going to go wrong. Yeah, that's obvious because they wouldn't have put all that stuff out there.
Which you have to do ananyway for safety.
Mm.
No.
When mass people like that are grouping together, you have to have
yeah, of course. Especially if they're near vulnerable places like Houses of Parliament and all the rest of it. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, of course. Okay, so that's one. That's their role. Yeah, their role isn't to abuse people. Their role isn't to arrest people for no crime. Their role isn't to intimidate people to go home. Their role isn't any of that, but that's the majority of what they're doing when they're on the road. If you watch these videos, you will understand the frustration I've got inside me when I watch this stuff, and I think to myself, really? And they're getting away with it. And like I said, this guy is an independent. There is no narrative in what he's shooting, It's your own narrative that you read from what he shot in it. And what my...
Is there commentary? Is it like just... There's no commentary online?
No commentary. All you're hearing is what's actually the ambient sounds. People chanting. The police officers arresting people and talking to people. Like, you're hearing ambient. There's no narrative whatsoever in these things, So he's just, like I said, very independent.
Yeah,
very
I'd like to see it then to draw my own opinion on it for sure.
But like I said, these TSG... So, would you say it's reasonable to arrest, physically, violently arrest a 92-year-old man? Non-resistant. Non-resistant. Is it?
Well, it depends on the situation. Like if they're going around trying to stab people or abuse or hurt people, sorry, not abuse, or whatever to people, then I expect them to do what they're doing.
Of course.
However, if they're not, well, it depends. And this goes with verbal abuse as well, because if they're being verbally abusive, they're not really meant to be doing that for police, are they?
No.
They're not meant to be calling names or blah, blah, blah. However, if it's the case where they're, not doing anything too out of the ordinary or whatever, peaceful protesting, then by all means, it's wrong. They shouldn't be arresting a 92-year-old.
Do you think it's reasonable to arrest someone who's dressed as Santa Claus over Christmas time who is part of the protest?
But what are they doing dressed as Santa Claus?
They're part of the protest. They're part of the protest. They're dressed as Santa Claus for Christmas.
What? They were just marching.
Their whole motive is
Christmas.
This is Christmas. Don't worry about what's going on. This is the energy you should be feeling Christmas time. Do you think it's reasonable that he should have got arrested?
Then no,
do you think it's reasonable?
If that's all he was doing,
do you think it's reasonable for a 74-year-old woman to get intimidated by 4 police officers until the point that she has to call out to her husband, who is 80-something, and all this woman is walking down the street and they're telling her, look, if you don't go home, you're getting arrested. Do you think that's reasonable?
Yes. No, that's not
reasonable.
But
it's not reasonable. But what also
do you think it's reasonable? Do you think it's reasonable for a 14-year-old girl or 15-year-old girl to get jumped on by like 6 police officers?
It's not reasonable when you're putting it like that. So it's not reasonable. However, if you are given an order by an authority.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. If you're given an order by Hitler, you're gonna do it. Simple. If you're given an order by authority, then you do it. If you are given an order by authority, and a reasonable order by authority, it's unreasonable.
Especially in these times that we are.
But it's unreasonable.
What?
You just said in them 5 cases, and that was 5 out of millions of cases I can give you. You said in each of them 5 cases, it's unreasonable if they weren't doing anything to harm or cause injury to other people. Yeah, that's unreasonable. So how can you tell me now that if they were given a reasonable order, it can't have been a reasonable order if they're acting like that to other human beings?
I didn't say that. I didn't say reasonable order. I'm just saying in a generalized sense, not in this sense necessarily. I'm just saying, if you are given an order by authority within reason, you do it, you comply. Obviously, if there's reasons for whatever it is where you feel like you can't comply, then you know what the consequences may or may not be.
What do you mean? Are you talking about police officer, or are you talking about a member of community?
Well, I'm talking about police officers. Generalized though, I'm just saying, if you are given an order by these police officers who have authority, and you defy those orders and you don't do it, are you talking about
a police officer, a superior police officer giving lower police officer orders, or are you talking about a police officer just
giving people?
Where we can go back to Nazi Germany. So from the beginning.
No. But
wait.
Can I just finish?
Let me just bring it back.
No, because
from the beginning.
You're mixing 2 things together.
No. I'm trying to break it down. I'm trying to break it down. Let me break it down. Let me quickly break it down.
Okay.
So when Hitler was in Germany, when he was there on the first day, he didn't go around and kill every Jew. No, it don't happen like that, What it does is that they start building and adding little infractions, little irregulations, until it gets bigger and bigger, until the people say, well, we're pacified, we're not going to react now, and then they just start enforcing rules and regulations. Now, okay, Hitler might be extreme. Okay. Let me finish. Hitler might be an extreme case, But what I'm saying is, Hitler started small and he ended up all the way there. But at that time in the world, it was very easy to do that because the country was on its knees and they needed someone to believe in. And this person gave them inspiration that they're going to grow a strong economy and a strong country. And that's why he had so much power to have these people kill Jews, because he had given people so much power that way and taken away so much power. So in what I'm saying is the conversion in now is that we all used to live normal lives 2 years ago where a virus can get us and we get ill for 2 weeks and everyone's hugging you and giving you soups and then you're cool. But now we're at a point, where little rules have happened. Wear a mask. Stay 2 meters apart. Don't sing over Christmas time. Don't be touching people with your family. Don't be eating from the same meal as your family. Stay away from people. So it's getting slowly rules and regulations are happening. Not only that, enforcement's happening. people on the street. So when I was on the street and I used to get stopped by police, I always used to fear that police were aggressive with me, but they were never aggressive with me. They would always have a conversation with me and make sure that I was all right at that point. Regardless if they were aggressive or whether they were rude, even though they were rude, they would always make sure that I was all right and that I'd signed all my paperwork all the time. Yeah. Now, yeah, police can stop you for nothing. Yeah, and physically abuse you, which comes with emotional abuse once you get taken to the police station, and then a financial abuse when you have to pay a fine. Now,
but I don't feel like that's just the thing. That's always happened.
That's a step.
That's always happened. It's not like, oh, well,
yeah,
now.
I know that's what's happened.
Blah, blah,
but
blah.
this is what I'm saying. So when we were back in February and March and that, we're all talking and we were saying, oh, look, yeah, they're going to introduce health passports. Oh, look, they're going to introduce vaccinations. You're like, no. We're here now. They're not going to do all that. But now we're here, innit, where they have started introducing all these health passports, where they have started introducing test and trace. They have. In Canada, they have. Have you even downloaded my GP or even researched into my GP yet, Renee? After I told you 2 weeks ago about that being part of their health passports. And even Tony Blair has come on TV and said, listen, there's going to be a time this year when people who are unvaccinated won't be able to access certain things. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
everything that we said is happening.
That got debunked, though. It all got debunked.
What?
And
so you're telling me that?
the health passport may so be a thing, but it's not a thing in the way that you're trying to say it.
It is,
in
but
the whole control thing.
People are already being prevented from going into a shop with not wearing a mask. How you think, yeah? How can you not see a logical journey? If you can't go into a shop without wearing a mask, don't you think? Obviously, they're going to say you can't come into a shop if you're not vaccinated once the vaccinations have gone throughout the city as a mass vaccination. Obviously, it's the next step. It's like, I was saying to my brother, people are simple because they've seen it before, but they're not taking it in, they've forgotten. And they're not taking it in and they think to themselves, oh, well, I'm just going to live the day by day and see what happens. But everything has a pattern. And if you don't see the patterns, you're the one that's lost. I'm showing you basic patterns. And if you can't see basic patterns, yeah.
Are you saying that I'm lost or just using that as
generally, I'm not saying generally, innit? Like, if you can't see basic patterns, so if you're in that category that I've explained back basic patterns and you can't see them, then that means you're obviously lost. That's what it comes down to. But I'm not explaining anything complex. I'm not being a virologist explaining about viruses and how it affects the body. I'm explaining basic patterns. 1 + 1 is 2. They said where you can't come into the shop without a mask on. They say you can't come into a shop in groups. 1 + 1 is 2. You can't come into a shop if you're not buying essential goods. 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. You can't come into a shop unless you're vaccinated. 1 + 1 + 1 + 4. It's patterns. It's obvious. If you can't see that, then like I said, you're lost. You're in the dark, innit? It's obvious. It's obvious.
Well, you know, I disagree. Like, I don't think. I disagree because I just don't think it's. I disagree in the fact that I don't think it's as extreme as what you're making it out to be. That's why I disagree.
That's what we said in March.
What you're saying,
that's what we said in March.
It makes sense, but you can speak anything and make it make sense. However, I just don't think it's gonna.
In fact, you can't speak anything and make it make sense because you can only make sense out of logic. So if you're talking logic, you can make it make sense.
What you're saying makes sense, but just because it makes sense, it doesn't mean that it's reality.
No, so what I'm saying is that sense comes from logic and reason, yeah? And if there's no logic and reason in it, it's no sense in it. So what I'm saying is, if you understand it, yeah, if it makes sense, that means there's logic and reason behind what I'm saying. And if you're denying logic and reason, like I said, you're lost.
I'm not denying logical reason. I'm just listening to your opinion and making, responding to your opinion.
But you just said what I said makes sense. But you just said what I said that makes sense. Did you not say
I said it makes sense, but I don't agree.
So that's what I'm saying.
That just because it makes sense, it doesn't necessarily mean it is reality.
I know.
Or it's true.
I know. But here's the thing. Regardless whether you agree with something or not, yeah, if something makes sense, that means it's based on logic and reason, yeah? And if you don't agree with it, that means it's your loss. So for instance, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example right now. I'll give you a quick example right now. Like, it makes sense that if I jump off a 10-story roof down on the floor and hit the floor and I'm going to die, that's based on logic and reason. But if I decide, I don't believe that thing, then when I jump and I die, that's me, innit? I'm lost, innit? Because I'm the one who defied what is logic and reason or purpose of Earth, innit? So this is what I'm saying. Everything has patterns, which is based on logic and reason. And if you can't see these logic and reason because you're being sucked in by too much information, then I understand.
I'm not being sucked in by anything. But see, this is where I'm getting confused. Are you speaking to me directly and saying that I'm lost and I'm getting sucked in
I'm saying it to general people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If people, yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. If people are getting sucked in too much, then I understand why they can't see basic logic and reason.
Help yourselves, everyone. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Press this button here right now. Jeez.
Yo, press this big red button.
Press this button here.
Button. Red one.